everyone, welcome to Me Lecture 6. Just a brief intro here from me and Tiffany, because this Me Lecture is going to have a fairly long conversation with a researcher of online dating, which I think you'll find really interesting. Firstly, thank you to all those students who have been really actively creating things in seminars and outside them. It's great to see, and if you haven't looked at the ALC 201 hashtag recently, well, please make sure you do. Sorry, it's getting a little late and Tiffany's going to fall asleep soon. Please make sure you do have a look at the hashtag, because there's some really great stuff there. Yeah, good girl. This Me Lecture is basically... the purpose of this Me Lecture, apart from just... Tiffany, you want something? You want something? The purpose of this Me Lecture is not just to introduce the topic, but also to give some advice for the upcoming Module 2 exercise on video making. So let's get to it. You want to get down? Yeah? Okay. Hi everyone. I was talking to students last week about the increasing pervasiveness of participatory creation and collaborative co-construction in contemporary media industries. A prime example of this is Kickstarter, which is just one of many crowdfunding sites that enable various kinds of media producers to engage with their prospective audiences or customers, which might better be labelled what we've been calling prosumers. Given that pledging to help secure funding for a project on Kickstarter frequently involves various degrees of influence on or input into how the final product takes shape. Crowdfunding is arguably revolutionising certain industries, and to take the example with which I'm most familiar here, there are currently 200 board, card and miniature game projects that are currently seeking funding as I speak, and there have been over 4,500 tabletop game projects over the last few years in total, the vast majority of them of which have been successfully funded. By the way, it's not quite as engaging when I'm reading off notes, is it? And if I was to put a laptop to the right of the camera there, and it became quite clear that I was reading off the screen after a little while, that would be pretty ordinary too. The same goes for when you're reading off the screen when getting filmed by a webcam. So, keep that in mind for your assessment coming up. You should aim to plan, script, and if you're going to perform, also rehearse in order to engage your viewers as much as possible. And if you make a mistake, you can always edit it out if you screw up, if you stuff up, if you mess up. But getting back to the importance of creative collaboration. As an experiment, and I'd never done this kind of thing before, so I had no idea how it would turn out, I showed students a movie trailer template in iMovie for iPad, and asked for some brainstorming of ideas that would inform the process of making a short mock trailer on surveillance. Here's what we came up with. Thank you to everyone who helped bring this to life. The process of collating and reviewing students' ideas, shooting the footage, which I did when arriving on campus or walking to or from seminars, then editing it together into a complete 1-minute movie and uploading it onto my laptop to include in this Me Lecture, would likely have taken me over an hour of work, which given the length of the trailer and the overall length of this Me Lecture, was really as long as I'd hoped to spend on such a small film. Of course, if I'd taken on board all of the ideas that students came up with, the making of this trailer would have involved filming and or interviewing a range of people at a clothing store, a swimming pool, an airport, and a police station, as well as strapping a camera onto Tiffany and breaking into a security office to steal the CCTV footage. There are two very important points to take from this. Part of this exercise was to stress that when making a video, you need to be realistic about what's possible, particularly when dealing with specific and quite limited time constraints. It's also clear from this example that making a relatively short video can take more time than you think, so you can't leave anything until the last minute. You just can't afford to lose marks for lateness. Remember that when I said it took about an hour to put that trailer together, that doesn't include the upload time and making sure that things work after you've finished. But from this experiment, you can see the potential that creative collaboration offers. Participatory practices like this will undeniably be a big part of the future, and no doubt a big part of your future. While the deadline for the next assessment task is some time away, you should start thinking about the Module 2 exercise now and how you might approach it. The instructions are now online and provide heaps of details and helpful hints. Further advice will also be provided in these me lectures as we move forward. I can't stress enough how important getting an early start is. This is particularly crucial for students who have never made a video before. Things can go wrong, as I recently found out myself when I was trying to upload a video for Open Day onto YouTube. For 48 hours, YouTube was letting me upload the video, which was taking up to 6 to 8 hours for a high-definition file, but it would not let me process it. And I tried it several times and on different computers, and I ended up having to go to Vimeo as a backup. You need time to do these things, particularly if something goes wrong. Think about the technology you have available to you. You have an editing program that's on a large number of Deakin computers, and your own devices probably came with one pre-installed. Also, I think I can confidently say that this has been a relatively inexpensive unit so far, at least in comparison to those kinds of units that have very expensive textbooks, so you might even consider whether looking into an editing program is a worthwhile exercise, but this isn't obligatory. Something that I found really interesting when this unit first ran in 2013 was that the me lecture for this topic, Sexing Up New Media, actually by the end of trimester had more views than even the welcome video, which seemed to attract all those people with a fetish for me screaming on a bungee bullet ride. And the possible or plausible reason why this me lecture would have had more views than any other is a curious one. I'm tempted to think it was my strange transformation of my living room into a supermarket, which seemed to mess with a lot of students' heads at the time. But I don't think that was it. And I'd like to think it was my classic prank on my brother. The topics we're looking at this week are cybersex, online dating, and pornography. And I remember one thing my brother said in Year 11. We made a video for school and he told me what he thought about pornography.
It's my favourite.
Okay, that might have been taken slightly out of context. But I actually think it was because I listed cybersex, online dating, and perhaps most importantly, pornography, as search keywords on the video. I'm sure anyone who checked out the video for this reason was sorely disappointed, as my mankini was at the dry cleaners that week. But nonetheless, it is an interesting issue. Some footage I took recently in a class for a first-year media studies unit reminded me of something we can easily forget. It gave me a perspective from the back of a lecture theatre that I haven't had for a number of years. Our reliance on screen media these days is astounding, and this only increases with every year. Whether it be for education, entertainment, online shopping, navigating our way around the city, or forming and sustaining relationships with people, digital media culture is an intrinsic part of our everyday lives. Is there a chance that anybody in this room could be updating their online dating site profile, or sexting with their partner, or perhaps even watching porn? Well, the question would have been absurd not so long ago, but the rise of digital media means that technically the answer is yes, it is possible, although perhaps somewhat unlikely in this context. When we talk about the issues we're dealing with this week, some of the most frequent phrases I hear are things like online sex and online dating. But as I've been asking in seminars, given the evident trend of these things becoming more and more naturalised as the years go by, will we actually say this in the future, or will it just be sex and dating? Anyone who is currently in a relationship is technically living, at least in part, and in some cases perhaps a large part, an online relationship. Although your instinct might not be to actually think this at first. Think about the amount of time you spend text messaging or sending Facebook messages or talking on Skype with a partner. In a sense, you are in an online relationship. Of course, this doesn't mean digital media will cause us just to get with anyone, as much as polemical current affairs media often makes it sound like this is the case. We always get to express our preferences.